Let me welcome on board then Rahul Shah from Motilal Oswal Financial Services and find out what he's making of the market right now. Rahul, hi, good morning. Good to have you on the show. Rahul, we seem to get a little sideways and we've been consolidating for a while now. Given that global markets are also slowly somewhat easing off, do you think for someone who has a 3 to 6 month perspective or time frame in the market, they should be looking at least partial profit taking?
Hi, good morning. I think one we should not forget, yes, that last couple of weeks, I think we've been seeing that the markets are in a sideways momentum, but the FI's flow has also been a very good. And interestingly to note that I think in a week we have two, three, blocks which are coming up, which and they have been successfully raised by the promoters or by the private equity guys or whoever the seller is in that perspective, and we've seen a good, decent, momentum building it on that side. Secondly, I think IPO markets, if we look at, have just started building up. So I think the fundraising part is doing quite well, and then if we look at the FI's inflow in last 1.5 months has been quite good, and I think this trend is the eminent. Secondly, I think if we look at the post the result season, I think somewhere down the line, I think we have seen a good rally, and but then that just consolidating. So I feel that I think now what the market is doing is I think the select pockets will continue to do well. Broader base, if I talk about the next perspective, might take a breather or maybe on a sideways momentum before again the Q1 number starts coming up after, in the next couple of weeks from here onwards or so. So my sense is I think overall trend looks positive. Needs to be very get into a stocks where there's a valuation comfort or where there's a growth which is obviously, and the management commentary is very strong, and there's a visibility of earnings. I think all these three factors needs to be taken care of, and I think it looks like that markets will be more of a stock specific from here.
Get on board, Rahul, to talk about this. Rahul, do you feel that, Paytm, while year to date it may be up 57%, from the 52-week lows, it's gained about almost 90%, but off late it's eased off about 4 to 5%. What do you do with the stock right now? Profit take further or buy the decline already?
I think if you notice, I think after a spectacular crash, if we talk about in all these new age businesses, and at some point of time there was a value in most of the stocks. If we talk about Paytm, Policybazaar, Myka, Zomato, all of them at some point of time became attractive, and they have done well. So I think talking about Paytm, I think the post their quarterly earnings and then the kind of the guidance what they have given and turning into an EBITDA positive, I think the kind of businesses what they are into and increase into the use of the merchants. I feel that Paytm could be, I think the stock has already done pointed out, I think 50% from the lows, and I think we also had come out with a report and it's up 40-45% from there. So I think the stock immediate, I think looks, limited upside in near term in next 3-4 months or 6 months if we talk about. But in any correction, one should definitely look at stock like Paytm. And then if you have a view for next 3-5 years, then definitely then it is another story in the stock, and I think we can look at it and there could be a good upside for it. But near term, I think the stock has done the major upside has been capped from here. That is what it looks like in Paytm.
What about Star Health? Would you agree with our analysis that this really could be one of those contra calls where after months and months of underperformance, it could outperform now, given that they're looking at changing their business mix?
So, Nikunj, I feel that entire Star Health, if you talk about entire insurance space, has done nothing if you look at it last year and a half, and I think this remains one of the top preferred pick in our portfolio as well. And we feel that I think the kind of businesses, kind of the growth which they can get, and this quarterly numbers were also pretty strong, what our analyst was estimating. So I feel that if you have a little bit of longer term horizon from here, even in the next 6 months or later, I think definitely this stock should do well. So I feel that risk versus reward will definitely pay off in this company. So I think we'll be the buyer in Star Health at this current price.
Well, we've got the ITC chairman on the channel today, and ITC has been one of the best performing stocks. For a stock which nobody liked 2 years ago because of ESG, tobacco, cigarettes, now is the toast of the town. So what has changed? I mean, they still sell cigarettes, they are still in tobacco business, but nobody's talking about it.
I think Nikunj, at some price and some valuation, if you look at it, then things looks attractive. The same thing has happened with ITC, and if you look at it, I think last year and a half, the stock has been an outperformer. In earlier 3 4 years, I think this was a stock which has been laggard in during the COVID time. Also post COVID, we saw a smart rally in most of the companies, and I think this remained a laggards in that perspective. So I think two three things changes which we can talk about. One is obviously that cigarette business has been still the one of the the major revenue contributor in that space, and I think which will continue. Looks like we have seen the quarterly numbers and which they have come up with. Secondly, I think the other businesses. I think that perspective have changed, and I think that's what the market is looking at it. If you look at hotels, if you look at FMCG business, or so on and on, so all other businesses put together, though the revenue contribution to the overall balance sheet might be lesser than what the cigarette business still, which what they are contributing. But I think this perspective about overall full-fledged FMCG company, that is what the markets have started looking at, and I think the valuation which it used to trade, I think people have started giving evaluations to this company, and then most importantly, I think if we look at it. Other consumer companies and the valuation which they are trading. I think still, if I look at it, if I have to compare with it, then I think still at a discount. So I think this is one of the this few reasons which I feel that I think what has changed for the perspective of the market on the ITC.
Struggling concern for the market. Is this concern now addressed that monsoon worries are behind us?
I think, as you rightly pointed, Nikunj, I think if we start at 10 days back, if you would have spoken this, then I think obviously monsoon would have been a concern for the markets and what we read the headline and what the weather department used to talk about. So I think more or less this is sorted for at least for a while, and I think as we see the updates coming up and with the deficits running in Maharashtra and Mumbai and so on, the couple of days. So I think. Obviously, I think near term looks like I think another next couple of weeks to closely watch on the updates of on the monsoon is through spread through us across the country, which will give a positive perspective. But I think looking at it, way it has started in few pockets, as I think looks like that. I think we don't see the kind of fear which was there in before 15 days or so.
One stock which has done very, very, very well, and I'm going to discuss it first with Rahul, then with Kunal, and then with Naresh, and that stock is Trent. Now, with any yardstick, Rahul, whether it's P multiple or based on the market cap, the stock is wildly expensive. It is up 30% this year, and the COVID low was some 500, and from 500 it's become 1700. What has done the trick for Trent?
So I think we've not been covering stock of Trent at this levels, but I think what we feel is I think the valuations, as you rightly pointed out, is very expensive, and I think the way if we look at two three things positive side of it in the entire space, and if we look at it the entire state, if you look at the entire sector, this has outperformed vis-a-vis all other stocks. So I think two three things. Obviously, the launch of the stores, what they're talking about, the differentiation between brand called Studio and so on and on. So I think these two are differentiated, but I think at these valuations, we are not comfortable in advising buying a Trent at this current price.
Okay, the one space